Seth's artwork is featured in the gallery. There is some exceptional work to look at. And to feast your eyes on Seth's work is really a joy. The work is filled with color and magic and wonderful mythological animals. It is something that just warms you when you first walk in and see these wonderful canvases. Seth began painting only 10 years ago, and it was after a class at the Cleveland Museum of Art. And he went to that class, and all of a sudden he discovered that he could do something quite spectacular, that the work that he was doing was something that just was a way of speaking in colors and lines and shapes and figures. And for the last 10 years, he has done some remarkable work. This evening is in part a celebration of Seth and some of the other wonderful and remarkable and very special artists that are in the show. It's also a celebration and an acknowledgement of his mother, Debra Chwast. And part of the story of Seth's journey and Seth's incredible commitment to art is a lot because of the fierce determination of his mother. And when Seth was younger, she really was quite intent on bringing the world to Seth. And whether through therapists or teachers or music or surrounding him with family and friends, she made sure that he had whatever he needed to enrich and engage him. Once it was discovered that he was a gifted painter, and it always touches me because it reminds me that we all must have a gift, and if we're lucky enough, we discover what it is and can spend our time really passionately engaged. When Debra found out and noticed what a gifted painter her son was, she stopped at nothing to make sure that he was able to work, that he was able to find mentors, artists, and therapists that would be there to teach him and guide him. And she's traveled the world with him. The two of them have spent some time in the last 10 years in Galapagos, in Russia, in New York City, in Texas, and I don't even remember. I'm sure we'll learn when we get to see her remarkable video. The two of them have spent time traveling. Seth's work has been embraced by people everywhere they have gone. I think he just won a major award from the United Nations for some of the artwork that he has made. It's now on a stamp. So really tonight we're celebrating Seth's accomplishment, but we're also celebrating Debra's accomplishment, because part of Seth being able to create the miraculous work he creates is because his mother has made sure that everything that he needed, she was able to provide. So the book that they have created together, that we'll learn something about tonight, An Unexpected Life, a mother and son's story of love, determination, autism, and art. And so it really is with great pleasure that I introduce Seth and Debra Chwast for tonight's presentation.
Is it working? Okay. I'm a little overwhelmed. I'm actually speechless. Thank you so much. So I would like to thank Amy and Mary and Gail. And whenever there's an event like this, we walk in and they've spent months working on it. So Seth is eager to talk too. He's getting all ready. You want to say hi?
Hi.
Thank you. Okay. I also want to thank everyone for coming out on Valentine's Day. I know the scheduling was a challenge. This book came out about a year ago, and one of my good friends gave it to a neighbor, and her neighbor said, "This is the best love story I ever read." And I thought, what? I wasn't thinking of it that way. But it is about the love I have for Seth and the love Seth has for art. It's also about the love that every teacher and mentor and art therapist had for Seth and for the process of using art for healing, because that's what life has been for us. It's the whole story of art and healing. I think for Seth will not paint without a mentor. He won't sketch, he won't draw, he won't do anything. He wants to have a mentor by his side every time he paints. I think that the canvas is a membrane between Seth and the world. So when we talk about Valentine's Day and heart, I think that art is the way that Seth's heart beats. The art is how he speaks to you. Whenever he does a painting, he wants the person next to him to appreciate what he's doing. And if I am next to him, it doesn't count because he knows I don't see well enough for it to matter what I think. He wants an artist next to him. And he took a printmaking class at the Cleveland Museum, and his mentor couldn't take him, so I went. And he was making a print of a horse's head, and he did it in purple and green, and everybody kept coming over to see what colors he was using. So all the real artists were just flipping out over his colors, and he loved it. He just loved the excitement. So when someone who understands art watches him, he gets very excited. He also says that his art will heal people and make people feel all better. And I think he's right. I think it does, because there's something so joyful about it that it does make people feel happy. What I want to do is just tell you a teeny bit about Seth and then show a DVD. What I want to tell you is that Seth was tested, he was diagnosed as autistic before he was 2. He had a nonverbal IQ test, a lighter, that showed he had an IQ of 148. He was treated as if he had nothing and was nobody. Seth is going to be 30. There were no autism schools until he was 18. It didn't exist. He was dumped into a classroom. What we endured was just unreal. And it was up to me. And every summer, I would look for programs for him. And every afternoon after school, I would hire people to work with him. I tried to give him a rich, full life. I didn't try, I did it. I did it. And when he was 18, he had a formal vocational evaluation recommending, after 3 days, a career in dry mopping. Now, I have nothing against dry mopping if that's your passion. It was not Seth's passion. And I said, over my dead body, he will play Nintendo the rest of his life. This is not what we're doing. When he was 20, he took his first art class. When he brought home his paintings, I thought, what is this? This is a kid who never did a rainbow, he never did stick figures, he never did a house with a tree, zip, nothing. And his first paintings, to the untrained eye, I would say are almost as good as what he does now. It was like, if you remember your mythology, I think it's Athena who sprang full-blown out of Zeus's head, an adult in her armor ready to go. That's what Seth was like. From his first painting, he was ready to go. He was it. It was there already. So at 18, dry mopping, though we didn't do it, but that was the evaluation. 20, his first art class. 23, he was on the Today Show as an artist. I said, do you ever do someone again? Oh, no, we never do someone again. Then they called us about a half a year later, and I almost said, why are you calling? And she said, we want to do Seth as our favorite story of the year for New Year's Day. And they did Seth again. And now he has had openings many, many places in the world. So first I'm going to show you a 7-minute DVD that got into the Ohio Independent Film Festival. At this moment, we are being filmed by Daryl, and we are very grateful for that. And in our audience is Molly, who travels with us and is going to do the next documentary on Seth, so it's going to be a winner. So this is one that was done when he was about 20, Seth, and then we're going to do a PowerPoint that shows Seth in his art in different galleries. We have 16 paintings down the hall, but they're all the size that could go into our car. So you'll see large paintings in the Ukraine, in Kiev, with people walking in front of them, so you'll see what he really does and what a person can do. And I am helpless at this, but I think someone's going to show us the DVD, right?
I got it.
Okay. Miss Molly. So that was Seth at 20, and that's his Red Horse painting. A lot of these paintings are, I think they're about 5 foot high, 6 feet wide. Those horses are almost life-size. They come into my dreams, and one time I saw the red horse in a dream walk off the canvas, go to a stream, drink some water, and then go back on the canvas. These horses live in our lives. And now, if technology works, we're going to do, oh, there it is, a PowerPoint showing our journey. So here we go. I used to be a social worker. I guess I'm still once a social worker, always a social worker. But I had a client who was an artist, and he said that everyone he knew tried to get a show in Canada so they could say they were an international artist. And Seth's first opening was in the Galapagos Islands. So we went down there and spoke to the owner of a gallery. We got home, and 4 days later we got an invitation. Seth painted nonstop for 3 months, and we went back down. So this is Seth in the Galapagos Islands at the opening of his exhibition. That is one of his sea lions. Sea lions have external ears. So if you don't know if it's a seal or a sea lion, that's the way to do it. And I happen to know those are the eyes of our golden retriever. These are 2 Cayman groupers, and somehow they got in with the Galapagos paintings. And I'll tell you something interesting. There have been, since this is an art group, Seth's early art was all from his head and his heart. What does a horse look like? Just keep painting and you'll find out. And Seth will only paint with mentors. We get them from the Cleveland Institute of Art. They, generationally, each class when they graduate sends the next class. And we have had a few people from art therapy. We're gonna work on making that much more of a reality now. And one of them was a realist and wanted Seth to learn to paint the way things really are. We got the two-waved albatross, which we may or may not see. If I didn't sit there for the whole 14 hours, I would have sworn Seth did not do those paintings, but he did. So he can sort of do anything. And this was a realistic painting of groupers. This is a whale shark. As a mom, I knew nothing, including nothing about intellectual property. So Seth did a painting from a photograph, and then I realized, oh my God. So I wrote to the guy and said, can Seth paint from your, he already did it, but can we show it, can we use it? And his name was Jonathan Green, and he said, absolutely, and I'll send Seth other pictures that he may want to paint. So he sent this. And it had a teeny little diver because a whale shark's 40 feet long. And he wrote, so Seth wrote back to him and said, Jonathan Green will not dive with whale shark, no biting the body parts. And Jonathan Green wrote back and said, the whale shark is very, very gentle, just do not get in front, he can't see you and he will bump you. So then Seth said he could he could continue to dive with the whale sharks. This is Seth with one of his turtle paintings. Seth loves to wear shirts with his art. He's wearing the hippocampus right now. And this is how Seth makes friends. And Seth is making friends. You have to understand that the art gave him his reality. It gave him a way to not be invisible. So many people are discounted and are simply invisible. And the art is what changes Seth. We were at the Cleveland Museum of Art for a flamenco performance, and people would come up to Seth. Did you have an opening at the Cleveland Clinic? I saw your opening there. Were you in the newspaper? I saw you in the newspaper. And he does it with his shirts. So most of the time, he'll only wear a shirt with his own art on it. Another painting of our dog's eyes and a sea lion. Tortoises. Okay, so Seth was the one who wanted to go to Galapagos. So we went to Galapagos in November. They said, come back in March. And in February, Seth says Cayman. He wants to go to the Cayman Islands. And we were gonna have a little opening at Cleveland State. So we had to go very, very, very quickly. So I got a guidebook and looked up all the art galleries. There was a nonprofit, the National Gallery of the Cayman Islands. So I called them up. They said, come on down, we'll meet you. And because he was already chosen by Galapagos, that made Cayman want him. And they said, we have a meeting of the committee in 2 weeks. It would have to be only images of Cayman, but go take pictures, go start painting, we'll see what happens. And the next year they had a 3-month solo show of all Seth's art. It was a nonprofit, and a woman in St. Louis, Elizabeth Adams Marks, was an art teacher of regular children. She created an art curriculum for middle school based on Seth's art. And it was the entire curriculum, like foolproof, anyone could do it. And she talked back and forth with Cayman and taught them how to do it. So they would teach 10 teachers an hour, 30 teachers a morning, how to do this curriculum. The entire island was painting in the style of Seth Chwast. This is Seth with 2 of his larger paintings and a different t-shirt. Turtles. Lots of turtles and octopi, maybe? I don't know. This is the Hungarian horse that you saw at the beginning of the movie, and the folklore person was Charlie Bergeron, who we lost this year, and he and I had just started to explore writing a book together about Seth, and we were this close, and we lost him, which was, and it was I think, to me it was such a beautiful horse. I just couldn't believe how beautiful that horse was. And then the next horse was the red horse, which I felt was rather primitive. And I was, and I don't want to say anything, but I sort of thought this was a splendid horse, and I didn't really understand the red horse, which looked more, you see, I'm not an artist, it looked more like sort of kindergarten. And we had a good friend, Michael Cunningham, who was the curator of Oriental art at the Cleveland Museum of Art, and he introduced it, and he said, this is a painting, that the red horse, that could go into the contemporary gallery of any museum in America. And I thought, what? I better learn something about art. And that, of course, is another t-shirt of the twin horses. This is Seth's self-study. It's on the cover of the book, and Seth is verbal the way you saw in the movie, but he does write incredible artist statements, and that's one of the beauties of the book, because you put him in front of a typewriter, a computer, and he just goes, and writes those artist statements. He'll do every single color as a fruit, every single color as a food, and they're very poetic, and they go on and on. In this one, Seth pointed out that he has a single chin, not a double chin. Seth did triptychs. This is the blue-footed boobies. This was just an incredible painting. This painting, the Cleveland Museum of Natural History, Darwin had his 200th anniversary. Darwin and Lincoln were born on the same day of the same year. So, but this was for Darwin, and they put this painting up, and in front of it they had like rubber feet so that children could put the feet on, and they had a video of boobies dancing so the kids could dance along with the boobies on the video in front of Seth's painting. Seth in front of 2 more big paintings. This one we had already. Okay, this octopus was real interesting. Seth, I think maybe the painting was on the floor and he did this kind of thing and just covered it with splashes. Then he drew the octopus. Then he painted out the splashes to make the water. And then he started the tentacles. And Seth has no sense of time. And he has no sense of money. And he would never do something fast to make money or something. So it took, each tentacle took 4 hours to do the little pink suckers on them. So it was just a very, very very time consuming. And then he gave it these human eyes, these human sleepy eyes. They're just splendid. Look at those eyes. This was an eagle ray, and I call this one obsessive compulsive wins again. If you can imagine what it took to do all those designs. That's Seth in front of a big painting. Birds. This is a whole bunch of people in Cayman in front of a big painting. They love him there. And he was on public TV, he was in the newspapers. More newspapers. And then he was invited to Curacao. And you can see he's now in his turtle shirts. His dolphins. They're just happy, happy paintings. These iguanas, he did every single scale separately, so this painting took 250 hours. That's not a guess. This he painted for Elton John, who has no interest in it so far. It's Rocket Man, and I think this is where Seth discovered string theory. Or pot roast, I don't know which. Here's where Seth's art went to Kiev, the Museum of Modern Art of the Ukraine. And there are 2 self-studies with tourists in front of them. We sent them unframed and unstretched, and they just nailed them into the walls. They were a big hit. This painting almost killed the mother. This painting is 11 feet high and 26 feet wide. It's 104 small paintings. It is Manhattan as Seth thinks it should be, with roller coaster rides and mythic creatures. And it took about 2 years and almost killed the mother. It's just impossible to begin to comprehend what an accomplishment this is. It's just impossible. That is us with Seymour Chwast, who's a well-known illustrator and a third cousin and was very, very kind to us. We never knew him before, but he wrote the introduction for the book and has been very kind to Seth. That's just random people so you can see the scale of this painting. And that's us leaving. These are just some little details so you can see. He also made wooden cutouts to hang in front of it. All Seth's animals are very happy. This is Seth at the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. I think this is his second opening there. This was his Mythic Creature mural, and the panel at the very end won a worldwide competition from the United Nations and was put on a first day cover postal stamp. That's Seth and one of his mentors in front of the mural. This was All Mythic Creatures. That's the shirt he's wearing right now. This is two black griffins. Seth, what's the name of this painting?
Two black griffins in the Valentine's Day sky.
Two black griffins on a Valentine's Day sky.
Two black griffins on a Valentine's Day sky.
That's how Seth named it. Yeah. Then we got to the United Nations because he had won the award with that panel, and we had a few paintings that were shown there. The octopus was there, and the two paintings that had been in Kiev were back in Brooklyn, so we got them there. And we got an award. There's Seth with his award. And then we got invited to the symposium, and it was so bizarre because I said, when is it? And she said, the Secretary General has not given us his calendar yet. And I thought, why don't I have this on tape? And when we got there, everybody was Your Excellency. It was the most amazing experience in the world. Gandhi's granddaughter was there, and everybody was an excellency. That's the winning stamp. And that's the stamp with the, as a first day cover. That's the Bob and Suzanne Wright, who are the head of Autism Speaks. There we are. This is Gordon Clapp. I don't know if any of you watch NYPD Blues. Okay, he's everyone's favorite detective, right? He was in love with Donna, the goofy blonde. So, yeah, and he's in Damages too, as the young lawyer's father. So we had an opening at Dartmouth, and he was in the audience, and he just fell in love with Seth. So they started their own correspondence, and he opened in New York and sent us tickets to the opening. So there we are, Seth and Gordon Clapp. And now this was the plain deal of fashion people sent artists, sent models to be photographed in front of the painting, but I don't know how much time we have. Are we out of time? Do you want us to stop? Okay, so let me just show you these beautiful women in front. Seth was very excited about this. And this is just selected works. This is the Red Horse. People Swirls was the next one. I'm going to just let Molly flip through these so you get a feel of them. This is about 5 feet high. That's what he's wearing on his shirt. Seth sculpts. Seth loves roller coasters. Seth wants to go to Venice. This is his way of twisting my arm. These are abstracts in oil, and the oil is so thick they're like hard-boiled eggs. Watercolors. Another obsessive-compulsive victory. I would die. These are all pencil hatch marks, and it's a huge painting, bigger than the screen, much bigger than the screen. Half Rembrandt, half Peter Max. Seth loves architectural drawings. He's so patient. This is the cover of a book. He was on, I think he's working on his 5th book cover now for medical texts. He did this for Chamberfest. And there he is at the Chef's Gala with Miss New York, USA. And Michael Simon, our very own Michael Simon. And there he is with Miss New York, USA. He could not be happier. That's the man who owns Toys R Us, which made Seth very happy also. Seth and Michael Simon. And that's it, we got through.
Let's give them applause one more time. Thank you, Seth and Debra. Beautiful presentation. And you can still observe some of the artwork. On top of that, there are some beautiful pictures and postcards, I believe, and T-shirts and books over there. And he'll be here to sign.
Yes, Seth lives to sign.
And before they get up, though, I have something for them. It's Valentine's again, so. And by the way, if anybody's here for CEUs, to get them, you'll have to go back to the art gallery. Chris Droswick is on the outside doing the interactive piece. She has the certificates for you. You just have to sign out, sign in, and do an evaluation. Again, thank you for coming tonight. The show is still open till 9. Go join them at the table over there. Okay, bye-bye.